Alright, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the next installment of Plat Gaming. In this month's episode, we are returning to Grand Blue Fantasy to cover what is, I believe, our very first zoner, and that being Vikala.
It's Vicky! And showtime! Do I spy a fan over there? Come on out of there and say hi! But I'm the real Vikala. Should she be like a physical projection of my fantasies? I'm so embarrassed! Yeah! One Ratatouille, Lucky, Cookie, Vicky!
Now, of course, as I said in the intro, Vikala is a zoner. She was a DLC character added in, I believe, year 2. You might see a lot of impressions online that Vikala is bad, and perhaps that's because of my disdain for zoners, but I don't think that's true, or at the very least, Vikala is very annoying.
Visions, be gone!
Believe in victory. Battle 1. Engage!
Now, for Vikala's story, again, like Galleon earlier in the year, Vikala is a DLC character, which means she doesn't have much to do with the story of Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising itself. So instead of telling you about any of that, and Grand Blue doesn't have arcade endings, it has art that it gives out. In lieu of all that stuff, instead we'll just tell you who Vikala is. Vikala is one of the 12 Divine Generals, which is a organization, I guess you could call it, that exists in Grand Blue. Their islands or domains or whatever exist sort of like a clock. There's 12 of them, one at 12, one at 1, one at 2, one at 3, one at 4, so on and so forth. They're meant to represent the Chinese zodiac, right? So every year in the Skydom, one of the Divine Generals, who are all like animal people, will be the reigning, zodiac, for lack of a better term, for that year. In Vikala's case, she is the rat, although maybe you want to call her a mouse, because she got mouse ears, not necessarily rat ears. It's the same thing, that's semantics, but, Mickey Mouse, Ricky Rat, you know what I'm saying? For reference, Anila is also a Divine General, so that that's the Ram Girl in the base game, also a Divine General. Vikala herself, though, is kind of a trope or a play on like the pop star gimmick, where when they're in character, they're super confident and outgoing, but then outside of character, she's very shy and almost a different character entirely. If you're familiar with that trope, you kind of have Vikala's whole personality already locked down. So like when she has the rat ear, she has like Mickey Mouse ears, big Disney gal. If she has the Mickey Mouse ears on, she's in character, she's cool, calm, collected, pop star extraordinaire. If the rat ears are off, she's, antisocial, kind of self-defeating, basically the antithesis of everything a pop star, quote unquote, should be. Because Vikala is, of course, I don't know if it's explicitly said that she is a pop star necessarily, but she is an idol of some kind. I assume musically related.
Battle 2. Engage!
Now for Vikala's special moves, we're actually going to start with her neutral, her neutral special we're going to cover last, because it has to do with her, gimmick, and so it's going to be a whole explanation. We're going to start with the back special. As a zoner should have a fireball, of course, everybody knows that. Guile has the sonic booms, Katana has her fans going all over the place, JP is a psychopath, Ingrid, by the time of recording this, Ingrid is out, psychotic individual, of course. So a zoner should have fireballs. It's just the way that it is. Vikala's back special is a fireball.
Heads up! No running! That's no weapon!
The different variations, so you have the medium variation, you have the heavy variation. Default light variation of the fireball is just a mid, very short range, pretty fast, decent at harassing that kind of mid-range that zoners might be uncomfortable in. Her medium fireball goes full screen, recharges relatively quickly, but the gimmick is that it can be ducked. And ducking fireballs is not necessarily something you want in a zoner, because you'd like that chip damage. If they're gonna block it, if I'm not gonna get the full hit, I'd like a little bit of that chip damage. But if they can block it, I'm not getting any chip damage. The heavy is also a full screen, but this one's mid, so there's that chip damage we're talking about, but it has quite a sizable recharge, so you're not going to be throwing any more fireballs after that mid. The meter enhanced does a lot of damage, and it kind of functions as a grab. Now keep in mind, it is not a grab, it's not going to go through block or anything, but if it hits, you get a whole animation and it does way more damage than all the other fireballs. It does about 2 heavy fireballs worth of damage, which is a lot for a fireball to do. Now her down special is a trap.
Great!
Vikala does a sort of marching beat and a bear trap, marches along the ground. Now the different variations, light, heavy, medium, mostly have to do with how far the bear trap will go. So the way that these bear traps work is whenever an enemy walks over them or jumps over them, essentially goes, think of the bear trap as a horizontal line. Once that line is crossed, the bear trap goes off. The bear trap can be tricked. Sometimes you go faster than the bear trap can react, and it'll just sail right past you. But most of the time, it does require a block. Right? And if they're in the air, it's not going to hit them. They can hold back. I guess if they're hitting a button or something, they'll get caught. It can be dodge rolled through, but again, that you might be able to get them to dodge roll into an advantageous range, where you might be able to punish with like a heavier attack or something like that, something with a little bit of range. But the bear trap is mostly just to make them think twice about closing that distance, which is what every zoner wants. The light bear trap goes, a very short range. It's a range that, if they're that close to Vikala, the odds are not great. The medium bear trap goes about 3/4 of the screen. That's a fantastic range because they're already in like the corner of how far you can walk back and stuff, so it really limits their options of how to engage. If they roll past it, they're not in engagement range unless they have some kind of special move or something. So the medium bear trap is probably the best one. Keep in mind, it takes time for the bear trap to get there. So the further the bear trap has to go, the longer it takes to set up, and Vikala's marching the whole time. So this is bear traps are best set up when the enemy's knocked down or otherwise unable to close that distance while you're essentially doing nothing. Now the heavy bear trap is a little bit different. The heavy bear trap goes out much slower than the light and the medium, but you regain control while the bear trap is still moving. And what this bear trap does is it goes to where the enemy is on the screen. So if they're close, it goes close. If it's far, it goes the whole distance. And then it jumps at them. It doesn't set up like a normal trap would. It jumps at them. It's essentially now a low projectile. Think of it a little bit like Terry's projectile or Jury's projectile. The meter enhanced bear trap is the same as the heavy bear trap, except it goes faster and it hits twice. So if enemies block the first hit, they might get caught by the second one. Doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it might, it might trip them up, throw them off their rhythm. And zoners do like throwing people off their rhythm. Vikala's forward special is a little like firework ball thing.
Don't fight! Light 'em up! Let's celebrate! Razzle dazzle! Reach the sky! Highlight!
This is essentially supposed to be her like anti-air projectile. Now keep in mind, crouching heavy for every single character in the game, for the most part. I think there's like 1 or 2 exceptions. Crouching heavy is the anti-air, right? It's like Mortal Kombat's uppercut. It's just an easy anti-air, does good damage. Most of the time, you can get a pretty decent combo off of it. Again, the variations for the most part have to deal with distance. So the light version of the forward projectile is very short range, mostly used as like a combo ender rather than trying to harass at range, right? The medium fireball mostly had the closest equivalent I could say is Ingrid's new heavy fireball. So you know how it starts in the air and it's kind of an anti-air projectile? This functions much in the same way. It arcs down, so at that medium range it will arc down and hit a standing opponent. But for the most part, this is to cover that air projectile area. Very good for dealing with dive kicks, because obviously projectile will beat the dive kick and you're not putting your own hitbox at risk to be clipped by a hitbox. This is mostly used for if your combo has them at that sort of, you know, aerial juggling state, or if they're jumping in, you want to use the medium one. Now the heavy one is kind of a lockdown tool. It goes about the length of the light projectile, but it lingers on the ground for a little bit. So you mostly want to use this on the corner to sort of lock the enemy into a block and let you set up whatever nasty thing you're about to do next. Now the forward, or the meter special version of this move is essentially a different move entirely. We get rid of the spinning firework thing entirely and replace it with a rocket. This is essentially Vikala's invincible DP. Doesn't have great range, is kind of slow, can very easily be jumped. So if people, if you're knocked down in the corner and they do like a forward jump, this will probably miss, which will then result in you, for one, losing meter, and two, getting your ass beat. So this is really the main thing that people say when they call Vikala bad, is that her defensive options are very poor. This is not a Guile scenario where, like, it is very difficult to get in on Vikala, but once you're in, it's kind of hard to get them off you, right? Where Guile has flash kick, he has good buttons, and you can keep people out. Once people get in on Vikala, it's gonna be really hard to get them out. Now, for Vikala's neutral special, she summons a cannon.
Great!
Yep. Locked on. Yep. Voila!
The medium version summons 2 cannons. The heavy version summons 2 cannons. One of them's in the air, one of them's on the ground. And the meter enhanced version doesn't summon a cannon. Instead, it summons a cannon to shoot a blast. Like, the cannon doesn't stay, and the blast knocks him off the wall, and you can do a combo and all that kind of stuff, right? So, by themselves, the cannons don't do anything. They're essentially static, just placements, right? But if you use Vikala's unique button, she will throw out an item. Now, she can do this at any time. There are different items that all do different effects. The cannonballs do more damage, bombs explode, dealing a lot of damage and kind of locking the enemy down. Stars bounce all over the screen. There are hearts that restore health. There are little pieces of cheese that restore meter. And you can see what she's about to throw out with the thing underneath her health bar. It says next, and it has a little circle with the thing. The thing she's going to throw out will change naturally if it's not used. It'll expire after maybe 5 or 6 seconds. What the cannons do, so normally she presses the button, she throws it out, doesn't really do much. It still does its effect or whatever, but it doesn't go far and it's kind of worthless. If you throw it into a cannon, it is then launched at the opponent. So This happens very fast. This is a super fast projectile. Think Sagat levels of speed, where he can kind of crank out fireballs crazy. So the idea is Vikala sets up a bear trap, stops the opponent getting in, then sets up cannons, and then launches a bunch of items at the opponent, right? And then the mix-up is what items get launched at the opponent. At low ranks, this is really annoying and hard to deal with, because all these items do chip. Like stuff like the bombs and the cannonballs do a pretty good amount of chip. The cannons will disappear after 3 items have been thrown into it. But if you use the medium version or the heavy version, that's 6 items. The cooldown is not too terrible for the cannons. The biggest thing is a lot of people will just rush the cannons. So if you're not prepared for that, heightened aggression, the cannons are worthless. You're gonna get inned on, and then you can't get them out again. Now, for Vikala's supers, her normal super...
Let's go! Utopia! Don't wait your strike!
Excellent.
is just kind of a hit, nothing special. It's not overhead, it's not low. It's just kind of in front of her. Hits the opponent, does a bunch of damage. Nothing super unique or special about it. Her Skybound, her super Skybound art is a full screen projectile. If it hits maybe half screen or more, you don't get the special animation and the additional damage. You just get it's essentially just a nice chunk of projectile damage, right? Think of it like a super projectile, like a reuse level 1 or something like that. If hit at close range, you go into the full animation, does a bunch of damage. Same thing happens if it's now. It can be jumped, right? So if the opponent knocks you into the corner, you do a wake up super Skybound art. The opponent jumps, they won't get hit. They will get hit if you time it right, and they get hit on the way down. In the air, if they're still close, it'll still be the animation. You won't get gypped, and it'll just be the full screen version or anything like that. Again, with Vikala's supers, nothing too tricky. There's no mix-ups with the super. It just kind of, it's a good combo ender. It's a good wake-up option. It's just a normal super.
Battle 3. Engage.
So how should you play Vikala? Well, Vikala's game plan is to essentially sit full screen, set up a bear trap, set up cannons, and just harass the enemy at range. She's a zoner. If you've seen Guile, if you've seen any zoner in any game you play, you know the playstyle. You want to keep the enemy out, because if they get in, they probably have more tools than you do. The reason why people say Vikala's bad, and I do see their point, is that, one, rolling exists in this game, so zoning is difficult to do. Not impossible, because Mitera is good. Is difficult to do because most things your opponent can just roll through. 2, a lot of characters in this game are rushdown, and pretty disgusting rushdown at that, which means they can close large swaths of distance and just kind of ruin your day. So, like, for example, if you're throwing a lot of the back special mediums, the one that goes full screen but is high, Beatrice can just go under that with her little, go along the ground move. She can just go under that. A lot of a strangely high number of characters who are not zoners have projectiles that will beat your projectiles. So, for example, the newest character, Ilsa, I might be pronouncing that wrong, she has a full screen laser. That eats all of your projectiles and may do damage to you. She's a rushdown character. So she's a rushdown character that, for all intents and purposes, has a better projectile than a zoner. That matchup's really hard. There's Versusia, who I think is technically also a zoner, but she has a lot more rushdown tools than most zoners would. So she can kind of beat you at the zoning game and also beat you at the close-up game as well, making that just a nightmare matchup. And another problem with Vikala is that she doesn't really have a second gear to shift into. So where some characters, they have a game plan that they want, but they have enough tools and other archetypes to where they can just do that one as well. Like, Galleon has the grab game. Of course, she's always going to have the grab game. But she has far-reaching normals to where you can just play a sort of whiff-punishing archetype, not even concern yourself with grabs, and just kind of battle of attrition, whittle down the opponent through whiff-punishing. Vikala doesn't really have that. She had, every character, their running medium attack is either a overhead or a low. Vikala's is an overhead, so she does have that. And her crouching medium is a slide, which does hit low. Even on hit with the sliding low, she's -2. So technically, it's not your turn. It really just becomes... Really, Vikala's just annoying. If you get in on Vikala, you probably win. There's probably nothing too much she can do about it. But it's just the process of getting in that's like really annoying. She's not as bad as Guile. Where Guile, even if you get in, you're never safe because Flash Kick is crazy. His normals are pretty good. Vikala doesn't really have that. Do I think she's worth playing? Honestly, this might be the first character in the series that I think, no, she's not really worth playing. But maybe that's because I just don't want to see more of her. I don't know. If you like the character, give her a try. There's no reason not to. The character's not free, but the game is, so... Overall... I like Vikala. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm a Vikala main or anything like that. And that's all I got for you this month. If you have a character you want to see or a game you'd like to see, leave a comment down below and maybe I'll check it out. Get out of here, you little rascal.
Victories, I reckon. Cookie!
Is anybody else a little tired of, like, new characters being the strongest in the game? And this isn't even necessarily just a fighting game issue. Pretty much any game that adds characters after launch, is anybody tired that they're, like, pretty universally always the best character in the game for, like, an extended period of time? So it's like, to me, I'm just annoyed because it's like, some guys are just chasing the meta, and it's like, you're not, like, as soon as the next thing comes out, you're gonna drop this thing like a bad habit. Like, let me give you an example. Pretty much every character that comes out in Marvel Rivals is, like, broken. Not every. Some character, like White Fox on release was pretty bad, and then they buffed her, and now she's kind of a problem. But, like, Black Cat was ridiculous on release. Now, as of recording, they gutted that woman. And she is borderline worst character in the game. I don't think she's as bad as Black Widow, but oh my god, they killed that woman. She deserved nerfs. Do not get it twisted. She deserved nerfs, but jeez Louise, they killed that lady. But like, Ingrid comes out. She's immediately like at least top 3, which is ridiculous. It's so annoying. Is she better than JP? I think I would need a little bit more time, see some more results before I want to make that distinction. But a guy like me, I'd rather play Mai than play Ingrid. Maybe that's because she's new and I don't know the matchup that well, but like, oh my god, I don't want to fight Ingrid. Now, keep in mind, I'd rather fight Ingrid than my 25th Ryu in a row. That's 100% fact, but it just feels like every new character that comes out is like frustratingly the best in class at like everything, and it's annoying because it's like, okay, I just play the new character. F whatever I was doing, just play the new character. And sometimes I don't even really understand it. Like for fighting games, I can understand the cost reason, because these characters cost money to buy, so people don't want to buy a character and then instantly think that they suck, right? They want a thing that's strong to use, pick up the controller, this is good. Like Sea Viper was better than a lot of people gave her credit for, but she was really difficult, so you didn't really see much Sea Vipers when you could just achieve better results playing Akuma or Mai. But then in games where the new characters are free, Like, what's the point? Does it generate hype to have a new broken character? Because I feel like all the people that are, like, always stick around are just going to be annoyed by the new character. And everybody that jumped in to play the new character and they're like, oh my god, he's good, they don't stick around anyways. So, like, Cyclops comes out in Marvel Rivals. I don't think Cyclops is, like, broken. I don't think he's the best character in the game. But he's incredibly annoying. You know, he's just Moon Knight, but better. Which is crazy because everybody's complaining about Moon Knight. So I don't know why they'd make a second Moon Knight. And so it's like all the people that play Marvel Rivals every day and are going to stick around regardless are just annoyed by the new character. And everybody that shows up because Cyclops is in the game and they're like, oh my god, Cyclops is in the game and he's good, that's awesome, they're going to leave anyways. So what are we worried about? Like, why are we appealing to that? Why don't we make a balanced character and then, you know, we go from there? Like, for example, as of recording, Xion from Overwatch has just come. I don't think Xion's broken. I don't think Xion's even close to broken. She's a lot of fun. She has so much character. And this is what I want releases to be like. Xion's strong enough to be competitive. You know, she's not a harmless animal. But she's not top in class, best one overall, can do everything your favorites can do and more. She has a role. She does it well. And that's that. It's just like, I feel like there was a window, like, back to back to back, where, like, Ilsa came out, was really good, Mr. Karate came out, was really good, Ingrid came out, was really good, and I was like, dude, all these new characters do everything better than the character I'm playing, like, right now, and it feels bad. Like, I'm out here playing Cammy, and, like, Ingrid comes in, she has an overhead, so she has drive rush overhead, she has a crouching medium kick drive rush, and projectiles, and it's like, oh, and like, essentially, a teleport, which is basically Hooligan minus the grab, but better, because it teleports through projectiles, and so it's like, Ingrid, it feels like Ingrid does everything Cammy does, but better, because she has ranged game that Cammy doesn't have. And also, Cammy's not even the same archetype. Like, realistically, I shouldn't be comparing Cammy and Ingrid because they're not even the same character. But, like, when I'm just focused on what characters can do, like, Cammy can drive rush low, drive rush grab. Ingrid can do all of that, and she has an overhead. And she has better damage. Like, what are we doing? She's a zoner. Why is she rushing down with the best of them? But maybe I'm just a scrub. I don't know. Get out of here.